Okay, so you're thinking about jumping into the world of online dating, huh? And you want to be smart about it. I get it. You sent over a ton of info about those red flags that everyone's talking about. And that's what we're diving into today. It's all about giving you the knowledge, not just to avoid heartbreak, but to protect yourself from some really tricky situations too.
I'm glad you're taking this seriously. You know, online dating, it's like a whole new social scene, right?
Yeah.
You're basically interacting with complete strangers.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get caught up in all the possibilities. That's why it's so important to recognize those warning signs early on.
It's not about being paranoid, though, right? More like being informed. What really stood out to me from what you sent is that those red flags, they aren't always obvious. They can be super subtle. We're talking about things you might see just on their profile or in the way they message you, even before you think about a first date.
You're exactly right. And understanding the psychology behind those red flags can be just as important as knowing what to look for. So let's start with profiles.
Okay.
You'd be surprised how many people don't even try with theirs.
You mean those generic ones like, I like to have fun,
Yeah.
or looking for someone special? I see those all the time.
Yeah. And while they might seem harmless, a really sparse profile can actually be a warning sign. It could mean they're not serious about it. Or even worse, they could be trying to hide something.
So it's not that they're boring necessarily. It's more like they're not putting their true selves out there, which makes sense. If you really want to connect with someone, you'd want to give them a glimpse of who you are, right? Now, what about those profiles that seem almost too perfect?
Oh, yeah. The ones with the super edited photos. And the profile reads like a list of accomplishments. I mean, everyone wants to present themselves in a good light. But those overly polished profiles, they can be a red flag too. You got to ask yourself, what are they hiding behind that perfect image?
That's a good point. It's not just about looks either. It could be masking insecurities or
Right.
even creating this whole persona that's totally fake.
Exactly. And that can lead to a lot of disappointment later when the real person doesn't match up to that carefully crafted image. It's like those influencers on social media, you know. They present these perfect lives, and then it turns out it's all smoke and mirrors.
Okay, so we've got the incomplete profiles and the ones that are too perfect. What else should we be looking for in those early stages?
Well, something that might seem innocent enough, but can actually be a pretty clever manipulation tactic, is when they're vague or just don't give any info about their interests. If a profile doesn't tell you much about their passions, it's hard to tell if you'd even be compatible.
Yeah, it's almost like
Mhm.
they're trying to appeal to everyone. Instead of being specific about what they want, wouldn't that make it harder to find someone who's actually a good match?
Exactly. Not having those specific interests. It could mean they're not putting much thought into it, or they're more into getting attention than actually finding a genuine connection.
So we've made it through the minefield of profiles. What happens when you start talking to someone?
Well, that's when things can get really interesting. One red flag to look out for is when they try to rush the conversation, you know, like pushing for your phone number right away, or wanting to move off the app really quickly, or even bringing up really personal topics before you've had a chance to get comfortable.
That's interesting. Because wouldn't someone who's genuinely interested want to take their time getting to know you? What's the reason behind that rushing? Is it just being impatient or is there something more to it?
It could be a few things. Sometimes it's just them not being aware or not understanding how online dating works. But a lot of times, it's a way to take advantage of someone who wants to be liked or is afraid of seeming rude.
So they're using those social anxieties we all have, hoping you'll give in to the pressure instead of standing your ground.
Exactly. It's this psychological principle called the scarcity principle.
Mm.
They create a sense of urgency, like they're a limited time offer, to make themselves seem more desirable and pressure you to decide before you're ready.
So they're trying to skip those early stages of getting to know each other and speed up the relationship, maybe before you see who they really are.
Right. And that pressure, it can be really disarming, especially when you're new to online dating.
Yeah.
And just wanted to find someone. It's important to remember that healthy relationships, they happen naturally. They don't need to be rushed.
So rushing the conversation is a big one. What else should we watch out for?
Another one is too much flattery. We all like compliments. But if they're showering you with praise right away, calling you perfect or the most beautiful person they've ever seen, after like 2 messages, that could be a sign of love bombing.
Love bombing. That sounds intense. What is that exactly?
Basically, it's when they try to overwhelm you with affection and attention. Really early on, often before they even know you. The goal is to make you feel super connected to them and like you're really special.
Okay, so how can you tell if someone is genuinely excited about you or if they're love bombing you.
Pay attention to when they give you compliments and what they're about. Are they specific to things you've told them about yourself? Or are they generic and over the top? Are they coming on too strong before they've had a chance to get to know you? Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is.
It's like they're trying to create this fantasy world where you're already head over heels for them before you've even figured out if you actually like them.
That's a great way to put it. And that's why love bombing can be so dangerous. It's a form of manipulation. That makes it hard to see the red flags and make good decisions.
Okay, so we've got rushing the conversation and love bombing. What other communication red flags should we be looking out for?
Yeah, it really is important to know about these tactics so you can protect yourself. Another red flag to watch for is when someone's not being transparent, especially when you ask basic questions.
So, like dodging questions about their job,
Yeah.
or where they live, or even just their hobbies.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
of course you want to be careful about sharing personal info online, especially at first. But there's a difference between being cautious and avoiding giving straight answers. If someone keeps doing that, it could mean they're hiding something or they're not who they say they are.
And that makes it hard to trust them, right? Like you're trying to build a relationship on a foundation of secrets.
You got it. Trust is the foundation of any healthy relationship. And if they can't be upfront and honest, that's a big problem.
So we've covered red flags in profiles and red flags when you're messaging. What about when you're thinking about meeting in person? What should you look out for then?
That's a good question. Because meeting face to face brings a whole new set of things to consider. One big red flag is when they pressure you to meet up too soon, especially if you've said you're not sure, or you haven't had enough time to get to know them online.
I've heard of people pushing for a date, like after just a few messages. What's the deal with that? Are they just impatient, or is it something more manipulative?
It could be both. Sometimes they just don't get it or don't know how to act online. But other times, it's totally intentional. They're trying to take advantage of people who want to be nice or who are afraid of coming off as rude.
So they're preying on those anxieties, hoping you'll just go along with it.
Right. It's really important to remember, you have the right to set boundaries and move at your own pace. If they're really into you, they'll respect that.
It's about putting your safety and comfort first. If they're pushing you to meet before you're ready, that's a sign to be careful. What other red flags are there when it comes to meeting up?
Another one is when they're really secretive about their life, like being vague about their job or where they live, or even hesitating to say what part of town they're in.
So it's more than just wanting privacy. It's like they're hiding things on purpose. Why would they do that?
There could be a few reasons. Maybe they're embarrassed about something. Or they could be trying to seem like someone they're not. Sometimes they could even be involved in illegal stuff. Whatever the reason, not being open is a big warning sign.
It's like they're living this double life.
You're exactly right. Being open and honest is so important for building trust. If they won't even share basic information, it's a sign that they might not be trustworthy or they're not ready for a real relationship.
So we've talked about them pressuring you to meet and being secretive about their life. Are there any other red flags when it comes to actually meeting up?
One of the most concerning ones is when their online persona doesn't match their real life. This could be inconsistencies in their age, their job, their interests, or even their background.
Oh, wow. It's like those catfish stories where someone creates a totally fake identity online.
Exactly. While not every little difference means they have bad intentions, it's definitely something to look into. For example, if their profile picture looks way different than how they look in person, or if their stories about their life don't add up, it's a sign that they might not be who they say they are.
It's like they're living a double life, and you're caught in the middle.
You're right. It's important to take those inconsistencies seriously. If you notice any big differences between their online self and their real self, it's best to be super careful, or even just cut off contact.
So we've talked about a lot, and I have to admit, some of this is pretty scary. It feels overwhelming to think about. Like, how do you navigate all of this and still trying to find a real connection?
I understand. It is a lot to take in, but the good news is you don't have to do this alone. There are so many resources out there to help you navigate online dating safely and effectively.
Like, what can people do to protect themselves?
Well, the first thing, and this is the most important, trust your gut if something feels off about a profile, a message, or even just a vibe you get. Don't ignore it. Your intuition is powerful, and it's usually right.
It's like that little voice in your head saying something's not right here. But what if you're not sure? What if you're second-guessing yourself?
That's totally normal, especially with something as complicated as relationships. But here's the thing. You don't have to be 100% certain to do something about it. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
So if you're feeling uneasy, even a little bit, it's okay to step back, reassess, and even walk away if you need to.
Exactly. You have control over your online dating experience. You can pause conversations, block users, or even report suspicious behavior. Remember, you don't have to talk to anyone who makes you feel uncomfortable.
Reporting suspicious behavior is a good point. It's not just about protecting yourself, it's about making online dating safer for everyone.
You're absolutely right. By speaking up, you might prevent someone else from being hurt. And it sends a message to the platform that this behavior isn't okay.
So we've got trusting our gut and reporting bad behavior. Any other tips for dealing with these red flags?
One strategy is to slow down the conversation if they're rushing things. Gently hit the brakes. Ask open-ended questions to get them to share more about themselves. And take your time getting to know them. This will help you get more information. And also see how they act and how they respond to your boundaries.
Like setting the pace.
Exactly. And if they get impatient or pushy,
Yeah.
when you try to slow things down, that's another red flag. It shows they don't respect your need for space.
Okay, so slowing things down is key. What about being more direct? Is that a good idea?
Absolutely. If someone's making you uncomfortable, don't be afraid to say something, for example, if they're being inappropriate, or asking for personal info too soon, or pressuring you to meet before you're ready. You can say something like, "I'm not comfortable with that," or "I'd rather get to know you better before we meet up."
So you're setting boundaries.
Right. And letting them know what you will and won't accept.
What if they get defensive or try to argue with you?
That's your cue to walk away. Anyone who truly respects you will respect your boundaries if they try to push back or make you feel bad for having boundaries. That's a huge red flag. They're not looking for a healthy relationship.
It's not just what they say, it's how they react to your boundaries.
Exactly. And remember, you deserve to feel safe and respected, always, both online and offline. Don't be afraid to put your well-being first and walk away from any situation that doesn't feel right.
That's such an important message. It's about knowing your worth and not settling for less than respect. We've talked a lot about red flags, but I'm curious, what about green flags? What are some good signs that someone's worth getting to know better?
That's a great question. And it's important to think about because focusing on those good signs can help you stay positive and hopeful.
Worry.
Throughout your online dating journey, one green flag to look for
Yeah.
is someone who's genuinely curious about you. They ask thoughtful questions, they listen to your answers, and they seem interested in learning more about you, your life, your interests, your values.
It's like they see you as a person, not just a potential date.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Another green flag is someone who respects your boundaries. They don't pressure you, and they're patient. They understand that building trust takes time.
So they're not rushing the conversation
Yeah.
or pushing you to meet before you're ready. They're letting things happen naturally. What else should we look for?
Look for someone who's authentic and transparent. They're open about themselves, and their stories about their life make sense. They're not trying to hide anything or pretend to be someone they're not.
It's refreshing. It's like they're saying, this is me, take it or leave it. And that confidence can be really attractive.
Absolutely. Being genuine is key to a healthy relationship. When someone's comfortable with who they are, it makes you feel safe and trusting.
So we've got being curious, respecting boundaries,
Mhm.
and being authentic. Any other green flags?
Another good sign is someone with a positive outlook on life and relationships. They're not jaded or cynical, and they believe in love. They're excited about the future and want to share it with someone special.
It's like they bring this optimism and hope, which can be really nice, especially if you've had bad experiences before.
Exactly. And remember, green flags aren't just about what they say. It's about what they do. Pay attention to how they treat you, how they communicate, and how they make you feel.
So you're looking for consistency.
Exactly. And finally, one of the most important green flags is someone who makes you feel good about yourself. They're supportive, encouraging, and they bring out your best qualities. They make you feel happy, confident, and excited about life.
Like they're your biggest fan?
Precisely. When you're with the right person, you feel seen, heard, and appreciated for who you are.
I love that. So as we've been talking about, navigating online dating is about finding a balance
Good.
between protecting yourself and being open to new connections.
You got it. It's about being careful without
Yeah.
being cynical. It just occurred to me as we were talking about those green flags, it's like they're the opposite of the red flags.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Red flags might mean someone's hiding who they really are,
Yeah.
but green flags show someone who's comfortable being themselves.
Exactly. Someone who's confident enough to be vulnerable, to let you see their flaws. And on the other hand, where a red flag might be pressuring you to meet right away, a green flag is respecting your need to take things slow.
That's so true. Respecting boundaries, valuing a real connection, more than just instant gratification. I'm starting to see that recognizing those green flags might actually be the most powerful tool we have.
That's a really good point. Because as you get better at spotting those positive signs, you're not just avoiding bad situations, you're actively looking for the qualities that will lead to a healthy and happy relationship.
It's like shifting your focus from what to avoid to what you want to attract. That's a much better way to approach online dating.
Exactly. And as you do that,
Yeah.
you'll also start to figure out your own non-negotiables, the values and qualities. They're absolutely essential for you.
You mean deal breakers, the things that would make you say, nope, not for me, no matter how charming they seem.
That's it. And those deal breakers will be different for everyone. What's a deal breaker for you might be totally fine for someone else, and that's okay. The important thing is to be clear about your own values.
So how do you figure out your deal breakers? Do you just know? Or do you have to learn them through experience?
It's usually a bit of both. Some might come from your values or past experiences, while others might come up as you date more and learn more about what you want.
So it's a journey of self-discovery.
Exactly. You learn about yourself just as much as you learn about finding a partner.
I like that. It takes the pressure off finding the one
Nah.
and makes it more about growing and learning about yourself.
You got it. And remember, it's okay to change your deal breakers over time. As you change and your priorities change, what was a deal breaker for you 5 years ago might not be so important now.
It's about being flexible and open while still staying true to yourself. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the most important advice you can give our listener who's just starting out with online dating?
I think the most important thing is to remember, online dating is just one way to find a connection. It's not a guarantee. And it's not for everyone. Be patient with yourself. Stay true to who you are. And don't be afraid to try different things until you find what works for you.
That's a great point. It's easy to get caught up in the hype, but at the end of the day, it's about finding a connection that feels real and fulfilling.
You got it. And as you navigate this whole thing, remember, you're in control. You get to choose who you talk to, how you communicate, and when you're ready to take things further.
It's about dating intentionally and trusting your gut.
Absolutely. And remember, there are people who can help you. Don't hesitate to reach out to friends, family, or even a therapist if you need help processing your experiences or dealing with tough situations.
This has been so insightful. Thank you for sharing your expertise and for helping our listener approach online dating with confidence and awareness.
It's been my pleasure. Good luck out there.
And to our listener, we hope you feel ready to navigate online dating with confidence and clarity. Remember to trust your instincts, focus on those green flags, and never settle for less than you deserve. Happy dating.
Yeah, it's all about finding that balance between protecting yourself and staying open to new people. One thing that really struck me as we were talking about those green flags is how they're like the opposite of red flags.
Oh, yeah. Like where a red flag might be hiding their true selves, green flags show someone who's comfortable being themselves.
Exactly. Someone who's secure enough to let you see their imperfections. And on the flip side, a red flag could be pressuring you to meet up quickly, while the green flag would be respecting your pace.
So true. Respecting boundaries, putting a real connection first. I'm starting to think that recognizing those green flags might be the most important thing.
You're absolutely right. The more you can spot those good signs, the better you'll be at not just avoiding the bad situations, but finding those qualities. That'll lead to a healthy and happy relationship.
It's like you're training yourself to focus on what you want instead of what you don't want.
Exactly. And as you do that, you'll start to figure out your own non-negotiables, the values and qualities that you absolutely need in a partner.
You mean like deal breakers, the things that would make you say, nope, this isn't going to work, no matter how great they seem otherwise.
Right. And those deal breakers are going to be different for everyone. What's a deal breaker for you might be totally fine for someone else. And that's okay. The important thing is knowing your own values.
So how do you figure out your deal breakers? Is it something you just know, or do you have to learn it through experience?
It's usually a combination of both. Some deal breakers might come from your values or past experiences, while others come up as you date. and figure
Well,
out what you do and don't want.
so it's like you're learning about yourself.
Exactly. It's a journey of self-discovery.
I love that. It takes the pressure off finding the one and makes it more about learning and growing.
Right. And don't forget, it's totally okay to change your deal breakers as you go, as you change, and your priorities change. What was a deal breaker 5 years ago might not matter so much now.
It's about being flexible and open, but still true to yourself.
Hmm.
So as we're wrapping up, what's the most important piece of advice you would give someone starting out with online dating?
Honestly, the most important thing is to remember that online dating is just one way to meet people. It's not a magic solution, and it's definitely not for everyone. Be patient with yourself, stay true to your values, and try different things until you find what works best for you.
That's a great reminder. It's easy to get caught up in the hype, but it's really about finding a connection that feels genuine.
You got it. And as you're going through this, remember you're in the driver's seat. You decide who you talk to, how you communicate, and when you're ready to move forward.
It's about being intentional and trusting your gut.
Absolutely. And if you need support, don't be afraid to reach out. Friends, family, even a therapist, they can help you process things or deal with tricky situations.
Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of this and for helping our listener approach online dating with more confidence and awareness.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, we hope you feel equipped to navigate the world of online dating. Remember, trust your instincts, look for those green flags, and never settle for less than you deserve. Happy dating.